It's night. You're crouched at the edge of a small clearing, and the cold has already worked its way into your hands. There is no light except the moon, and clouds are stealing even that. You are not imagining this. For a moment, actually feel it. The dark pressing against your eyes until you can't tell the difference between them open or closed. The temperature dropping enough that your muscles start to shiver on their own, without you asking them to. Somewhere close, something moves through the brush. You don't know what it is. You won't know until it's already too late to matter. This is where your ancestors lived for hundreds of thousands of years. Not as a metaphor, as a Tuesday night. Before you go further, notice what's happening in your own body just from reading that. Your shoulders may have tightened, your breathing may have shifted just slightly toward shallow. That's not your imagination running away with you. That's a system in your brain switching on, a system your ancestors depended on every single night of their lives, long before they had any way to push back the dark. Anthropologist Richard Wrangham spent decades studying exactly what changed when that finally became possible. His research proposed something startling. Fire didn't just warm early humans, it rewired what a human even was. Before controlled fire, nights weren't just uncomfortable. They were a constant tax on the body and mind. Predators hunt more successfully in darkness. Cold saps energy that could otherwise go toward healing, growth, thinking. Every night was a negotiation between rest and vigilance, and early humans could never fully choose rest. Try to hold that feeling for a moment. Imagine every single night of your life carrying that same low hum of alertness, never able to fully relax, because relaxing might cost you your life. Now picture the moment that changed. Not a single dramatic instant, but a slow accumulation of trial, failure, and eventually control. Evidence from sites like Wonderwork Cave in South Africa suggests early hominins were using controlled fire as far back as 1 million years ago, long before anything resembling modern humans existed. That number is almost impossible to hold in your head. 1 million years of nights spent slowly learning to bend one of the most dangerous forces in the physical world into something protective. Picture the first time it worked. Not the myth of it, the actual moment. A spark catching in dry tinder longer than it ever had before. A small flame, trembling, almost dying, then catching hold. And a group of early humans watching it in something between fear and disbelief. What would that have felt like? Biologically, your amygdala, the part of your brain responsible for fast threat detection, would have been firing constantly around anything unpredictable and glowing. Fire moves, flickers, consumes. To a nervous system built to treat unpredictability as danger, this should have triggered pure avoidance. And yet, they stayed close to it. This is where the story becomes less about fire and more about what fire allowed the brain itself to become. Primatologist and biological anthropologist Ann Gibbons has written extensively on how drastically diets shifted once cooking became possible. Cooking food breaks down fibers and proteins before they ever reach your stomach, meaning your body spends dramatically less energy digesting. That freed up energy didn't vanish. Evidence increasingly suggests it was redirected, fueling the expansion of brain tissue that is extraordinarily expensive to maintain. In other words, the very organ you are using to process this sentence right now may exist, at least in part, because something around a fire changed how much energy your ancestors' bodies had left over each day. There's another shift that's easy to miss entirely. Before fire, night was simply endured. Alone in fear, each person managing their own private vigilance. Fire created a circle, a literal, physical boundary of light that people could sit inside together. Researcher Daniel Lieberman has pointed to something significant hiding inside that circle. For the first time, humans had a reliable window each day when they weren't purely focused on survival. A space carved out of darkness where energy wasn't spent scanning for predators, but could instead go towards something else entirely. Talking, watching each other's faces, the earliest seeds of shared stories. Feel that shift for a second. The same brain that spent all day in low-grade vigilance suddenly had permission for a few hours each night to soften. This is why your body reacted the way it did at the start of this video, just imagining a version of that darkness. That old circuitry never fully went away. It's still sitting underneath every modern nervous system, quietly primed to feel unsafe in true darkness, and quietly primed to feel calm near warmth and light. That's why a candle in a dark room feels different than a bare dark room ever could. Why people still gather around fires today with no practical need to. Why a screen glowing in a dark bedroom pulls at something old in you. Some ancient instinct whispering that a small source of light in the dark means, at least for now, you are safe enough to stop scanning the shadows. You weren't imagining the shift in your shoulders earlier. You were feeling the same signal your ancestors felt every single night before that first flame held. The only difference is that they didn't know yet whether the fear would ever end. You already know it does. It ends the moment something small and fragile catches and holds and keeps burning long enough for an entire species to lean into the light instead of away from the dark.